Today we are going to learn three principles of organization, that is hierarchy, unity of command and span of control, as these constitute the key concept to understand the process of work in an organization. Now coming to the objectives, explain the meaning and importance of these principles, enumerate the advantages and limitations, explain the application part of these principles and the relationship between span of control and hierarchy. Now coming to hierarchy, meaning few organizations function without a hierarchy. L.D. White states that hierarchy consists in the universal application of superior subordinate relationship through a number of levels of responsibility reaching from top to bottom of the structure. The Hoover Commission on Administrative Reforms recognized hierarchy as one of the means of control of the higher over the lower. In administrative theory, hierarchy means a grading into successive levels or steps. G.D. Mooney and Riley defined it as a scalar process which is derived from the word scale, meaning ladder. Just as there are steps in a ladder, there are several levels in hierarchy. The importance organization begins with a purpose. In order to achieve that purpose, it divides its job into various functional units. These units are further divided into subunits only when it reaches the base. In an organization which is arranged hierarchically, authority descends from the top to the bottom step by step or level by level. There are several levels of authority and responsibility. Every employee has to obey the orders of superior and issue orders to his subordinates. Thus, hierarchy becomes a means of communication and a chain of command across various levels of authority. The principle of hierarchy demands that no immediate level be skipped or jumped while dealing with higher or lower levels. This is known as functioning through proper channel. Thus, all communications should come from the immediate superior or the immediate subordinate, whichever is relevant. Every officer retains the necessary authority with him and delegates the rest to his subordinate. Thus, hierarchy gives rise to different levels of decision making. With the help of hierarchy, the chief executive can send orders to any level in an organization and allocate responsibility. Now, what are the features? From the above discussion, the following features of hierarchy emerge. First, the entire administrative function is divided into units and subunits. Secondly, these units are organized in a form of pyramid, one below the other. Thirdly, authority is distributed to various levels. Fourth, illustrative explanation. The principle of hierarchy can be illustrated as follows. In the diagram, A is the head of the organization, B is A's subordinate, C is the immediate subordinate of B and also subordinate to A. Thus, if we go down the line, F is the immediate subordinate of E and also subordinate to A. Thus, orders flow from top to bottom, namely from A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E and E to F, and communication go from bottom to top, namely F to E, E to D and so on. The same is true on the other side of the triangle B, C, D and E, and if F has to communicate to K, it has to travel through E, D, C, B and A and descend from A to K step by step. F, A, K in this diagram represent the line of authority linking the whole organization. The travel of orders from A to F step by step in an ascending order and the flow of communication from F to A in a descending order is called communication through the proper channel. This principle can also be explained with the following example. The up arrow explains communication and the down arrow explains orders which will be passed through the section officer, assistant section officer and typist cum assistant. Unity of command is the essence of the principle of hierarchy. All authority and responsibility is concentrated in one point, that is A, and tile line of authority runs upward and downward from it. This means that through authority and responsibility belong to the chief executive, they can be delegated down the ladder in tile hierarchy. Every post in an organization has a place in the hierarchy. Now, the advantages. The principle of hierarchy is one of the universal principles of organization. No organization can escape from it. It integrates the various units of an organization which are divided for the purpose of division of work. Secondly, hierarchy facilitates communication upwards and downwards in an organization. Because of a hierarchical pattern, every employee knows from whom he has to receive orders and to whom he has to give orders. Thirdly, the rule through proper channel ensures adherence to procedure and avoids shortcuts. Every move upward or downward through the proper channel. This makes the process of communication easy. Fourthly, it establishes a number of subordinate levels below the top level. Each subordinate level acts as a center at which a specified matter or issue is decided by the exercise of delegated authority. Thus, the employees of the organization are trained to make decisions and guide their subordinates. At the same time, it relieves the chief executive from less important matters and promote a sense of belongingness among the subordinates. Lastly, hierarchy clarifies the position of each employee in an organization. In short, hierarchy facilitates communication, ensures delegation of authority, provides different level of decision making and fixes responsibilities of individuals. It also works as a device of control. Now, what are the limitations? The principle of hierarchy suffers from the following disadvantages. Every paper has to move step by step either upwards or downwards. At every step, it may take a certain amount of time. The weighting of a paper at every level of the hierarchy must be due to non-availability of the person concerned or his preoccupation. Hence, the rigid application of hierarchy leads to delay in the disposal of work. In order to avoid delay likely to be caused by adherence to the principle of hierarchy, shortcuts may be found in actual practice without violating it entirely. Henry Fayol suggests that a bridge can be thrown across the formal lines of authority of the hierarchy so that subordinate officers in one department may contact the opposite members in the other departments directly. The F and K in the diagram may deal with each other directly without the prior permission of the superiors, but they should keep their superiors duly informed of what transpired between them. Level jumping and throwing of bridges across the formal lines of authority to reduce, if not eliminate, the delay likely to be caused due to the scalar principle is possible if proper confidence and loyalty between superiors and subordinate is established. Urvik observes that every organization must have its scalar chain just as every house must have its drain, but it is unnecessary to use this channel frequently as the sole means of communication, as it is unnecessary to pass one time in the drain. Applications. Before we close the discussion on this principle, let us examine whether authority is exercised through the principles or not. According to some critics like Earl Latham, it is wrong to think that superior officer exercise authority over the subordinate indiscriminately. It may be said that the subordinate obey the orders of the superiors because the latter possess superior knowledge due to their rich experience. Sometimes it is true that the subordinate possess more information due to their handling of the problems than the superiors do. For this reason, their decision would be accepted by their superiors. Now coming to unity of command, the other principle of organization. Now what is the meaning and importance of unity of command? No employee should receive orders from more than one superior official. This is what is implied by unity of command. A man cannot serve two masters at the same time. Thus, unity of command means that employee should be subject to the orders of not more than one immediate superior officer, described positively. Unity of command means that an employee should receive orders from one superior only. It has been observed that if an employee receives orders from more than one superior, the orders tend to conflict with one another. The employee may be confused and he may not know whom to follow. He may also play off one superior against another. Exception. In theory, the principle of unity of command appears to be sound and unaccessible, but in the practice it has an exception. An individual employee is frequently subject to dual control simultaneously. All the technical persons of an organization are under the administrative control of the head of the organization and the technical control of the expert. One cannot be an expert in every matter. Hence, any organization has more than one supervisory officer under whom an individual employee has to work. It is difficult to find supervisory officers qualified and competent enough to exercise both administrative and technical control. In view of the difficulty, John D. Millett formulated the theory of dual supervision. This means that there should be both administrative and technical supervision of the work of an employee. F. W. Taylor's view. F. W. Taylor rejects the principle of unity of command or the military type of foreman, as he called it, and advocate multiplicity of command. He suggests the unity of command be substituted by functional direction and supervision of each individual work by 8 foremen or supervisors. He called them first the gang boss, second the speed boss, third the inspectors, fourth the repair boss, 5 the order of work and routine clerk, 6 the instruction card clerk, 7 the time and cost clerk, and 8th the shop disciplinarian. According to Taylor, the first 4 of these would be in the shop or in the factory and personally help the men in their work, each boss helping in his own particular line or function, only execution boss, and the other 4 would operate from the planning room, sending the orders and instruction in writing, that is planning process. According to Taylor, the chief advantage of this multiplicity of command is that division of labor among supervisors would facilitate specialization and expert supervision in respect of each function. As we know, a single foreman cannot be an expert in these functions. Taylor advocates this specialization for industry, but it has made its appearance in public administration too. In public administration, technical supervision is increasing side by side along with general administrative supervision. This leads to the conclusion that the principle of unity of command has broken down, but the advocates of the principle of unity of command argue that through all employees may be subject to the orders of more than one superior. The principle of unity of command may not be considered as broken. The administrator in government may have many bosses and may not be able to neglect none of them. Practice. Today, an administrator like a district collector is subject to the orders of many departments. As such, there is no unity of command or duality of command, but a multiplicity of command. In such a case, the traditional approach to the principle of unity of command, that an employee should receive orders from only one superior, is not practicable. If there is no conflict in command, duality or multiplicity of command need not be objected to. In case of conflict or contradiction in the orders of the superiors, the employee should accept and obey the orders of the controlling officer and bring to his notice the conflict in the different orders. Now coming to the last principle, that is span of control. The meaning. Span of control means the number of subordinate an officer can effectively control and direct. It also means the number of subordinate an officer can direct. It can also be said that span of control means, in simple words, the work of number of persons a supervisor can effectively supervise. Span of control dependent upon span of attention. Now, what are the limitations or the limits? There are limits both physical and mental to human capacity. Hence, a supervisor cannot control more than a certain number of subordinates. Sir Ian Hamilton puts the limit at 3 or 4. Lord Haldane and Graham Valence felt that a supervisor could supervise 7 to 12 subordinates. Urwick made a difference in regard to span of control between higher and lower levels. According to him, a supervisor cannot supervise directly more than 5 to 6 subordinates at the highest level, whereas at the lower level, where the work is routine in nature, the span of control varies from 8 to 12. According to the survey conducted by Valence in 1937, the span of control of a chief executive differed from country to country. A chief executive in Japan had 13 departments under him, in Canada, Germany and Italy 14, in France 17, in Russia 19 or 20, in England 25 and in USA about 60. Though the number was not uniform, nowhere did the administration break down. Thus, various writers feel that the span of control can be between 3 to 15. Though attempts have been made by many writers to search for the ideal number of persons a supervisor can supervise, they have not been able to give such an ideal number. Now, what are the importance? We know that hierarchy or scale-up principle involves a number of steps or tiers one above the other. How many such levels an organization should have depend upon the total number of employees at the lower level to be supervised effectively by the superior officer. This establishes the fact that there is a close relationship between hierarchy and span of control. Now, let's look into the relationship between span of control and hierarchy. The levels of an organization should be decided keeping in view the span of control. If the number of employees of an organization is 1000 and the span of control is 17, the number of levels will be 4 chief executive, 17 supervisor, 170 supervisors, 1700 workers. On the other hand, in the same organization, if the span of control is 5, the organization should have 6 levels: chief executive, 2 supervisors, 8 supervisors, 40 supervisors, 200 supervisors and 1700 workers. Span of control is a universally accepted principle. The number of subordinates one should have under him is debatable, but not the principle as such. There are two opinions on the number of levels an organization should have. If the number or levels is more, the span of control will be less and supervision will be more. This has some problem. If the number of level is more, the number of supervisors will increase, resulting in an increase in the expenditure. It also increases the distance between the chief executive and the workplace. Since communication have to pass through many levels, they may undergo change in form and content, thus complicating the decision-making process. On the other hand, if the levels are less, work may be expedited. The number of supervisors will decrease and it facilitates more delegation of authority. In many organizations, the span of control is kept at a maximum and the levels are increased. Now, what are the factors which influence span of control? Span of control depends on certain factors. According to Luther Gulick, span of control varies with the following factors: first, function; second, time; and third, space. Let us discuss these factors in some details. Function refers to the work to be supervised. A supervisor can supervise a large number of subordinates with homogeneous functions. Second, that is time. Time refers to the age of the organization. In old and established organization, practices become perfect and things get established. Such organization run themselves. In such organization, supervision can be more rapid and span of control greater. Whereas in new organization, new problem demands the attention, time and energy of the supervisors. Third one, space. Space refers to the place of work. If all the subordinates are under the same roof along with the supervisor, supervision becomes easier and quicker. If the subordinates are at a distance, it becomes difficult for the supervisor to exercise effective supervision because he has to deal with them individually. Hence, if the number of subordinates to the supervised is under the same roof, supervision is easier. Hierarchy is a universally accepted principle of organization. It emphasizes the need for the organic links between the superior and subordinates. It is a ladder of authority with various steps. Communication and orders should go up or come down from each step. Any jumping of levels would result in confusion and disorder. As a principle of organization, it facilitates communication upward and downward and ensures adherence to procedures and relieve the chief executive from less important matters. Span of control means the number of subordinates an officer can effectively control. It depends upon the span of attention of a superior officer. If the span of supervisor is more than that which the supervisor can exercise, it leads to inefficiency and delay. If the span exceeds, it results in the breakdown of the organization. Span of control also affects the levels in hierarchy. It has two limits, mental and physical. There is no ideal number of persons a supervisor can supervise. Span of control varies with function, time and space. It also varies with the personality of the superior, nature of delegation of authority, subordinates and techniques of supervision, etc. Practice questions. What are the importance and the principles of hierarchy? What are the views of F. W. Taylor regarding unity of command? And thirdly, what is the relationship between span of control and hierarchy? Hierarchy is a universally accepted principle of organization. It emphasizes the need for the organic links between the superior and subordinates. It is a ladder of authority with various steps. Communication and orders should go up or come down from each step. Any jumping of levels would result in confusion and disorder. As a principle of organization, it facilitates communication upward and downward and ensures adherence to procedures and relieves the chief executive from less important matters. Span of control means the number of subordinates an officer can effectively control. It depends upon the span of attention of a superior officer. If the span of supervisor is more than that which the supervisor can exercise, it leads to inefficiency and delay. If the span exceeds, it results in the breakdown of the organization. Span of control also affects the levels in hierarchy. It has two limits, mental and physical. There is no ideal number of persons a supervisor can supervise. Span of control varies with function, time and space. It also varies with the personality of the superior, nature of delegation of authority, subordinates and techniques of supervision, etc. Practice questions. What are the importance and the principles of hierarchy? What are the views of F. W. Taylor regarding unity of command? And thirdly, what is the relationship between span of control and hierarchy?